Hello class, once again, this is Jason Cano, your instructor in this course, Strategic Management. So let's continue our discussion in section 1, Introduction to Strategic Management. So these are the following objectives. After reading this chapter, you should be able to discuss the historical origins of strategic management, identify the schools of thought on strategic management, describe the strategic management framework and its objectives, define key terms pertaining to strategic management, assess various perspectives of strategic management and their significance. So for this module, we will discuss about the identifying the schools of thoughts on strategic management. So for this module, we have a long discussion. So we have module 2A and we also have module 2B. So let's start. So from a historical perspective, many schools of thoughts have emerged in the strategic management domain. So according to Mintzberg and colleagues, this is on 1998, it described the domain as consisting of 10 thoughts. These are the 10 thoughts, or it's called perspective, that pertain to design, planning, positioning, entrepreneurial, cognitive, learning, power, cultural, environmental, configuration. Okay, as Mintzberg and his colleagues explained, that the first three schools are more prescriptive. These three: design, planning, and positioning, with emphasis on the strategy formations that developed from 1960s to 1980s. And the next six schools are less prescriptive. What are these six schools? Entrepreneurial, cognitive, learning, power, cultural, and environmental. Okay, so these are less prescriptive. And then the 10, or the last one, configuration. So this 10 school conceptually combines and captures the other 9 schools into an integrative whole. So each school is described briefly in this section. But because we have a long discussion on this topic, so for this video I just have to discuss the first 5: design, planning, positioning, entrepreneurial, and cognitive. So let's start with number 1, design. So the design school purports a fit between an organization's internal capabilities and external opportunities. So this school, or perspective, emphasizes the importance of a firm's position within the context in which it operates. Okay, so the environment is used as a reference while gauging the firm's strategies, and the emphasis on how it develops its structure in order to support the strategy. Okay, so the strategy creation and implementation were considered two distinct stages in the strategic management process. Again, what are those two distinct stages? That is the strategy creation and the implementation. Next, the planning. The second school, it is called planning, so which developed in 1970s. Conceptualized strategy to include a structured step-by-step process or approach. So mission and vision statements were set and goals were clearly spelled out while detailing the objectives that would lead to the accomplishments of those goals. Note that goals and strategies were clearly differentiated under this approach. So just remember, on the first school of thought, the important thing here is the strategy creation, designing the strategy. And after the designing the strategy, it is the implementation. But the highlights in the second school of thoughts, the planning, this is where the organization set the mission and vision statements together with the objectives and goals. Same with our educational institution, the BISO. We have the mission, we also have the vision, goals, and objectives. So in this second school of thoughts, we're in the planning about these areas. So the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I'm familiar with the SWOT analysis. S stands for strength, W for weaknesses, O for opportunities, and T for threats. Every business or every organization must determine the SWOT, okay, for the purpose of decision making. So the SWOT analysis was part of this process, and it gave the firm an overview of the various factors it had to deal with a given context. So the firm's or the organization's internal and external environment related to factors are important to consider in order to assess the firm's position within a given market. So the strength and weaknesses is considered the internal environment, and the opportunities and threats will be considered as the external environment. Okay, so the strategy process includes the planning hierarchies along with evaluation, operationalization, execution, and control. Also, the planning hierarchies per Mintzberg and his colleagues include budget hierarchies, objectives hierarchies, strategies hierarchies, and program hierarchies. So these hierarchies are detailed within the corporate, business, functional, and operational level. Again, these hierarchies are detailed within the corporate, business, functional, and operational levels. So this school highlights planning as a formal process driven by the top management team of firms led by the CEO or the Chief Executive Officer. And the strategies appear as a result of this process. Okay, so in the school of thoughts in planning. So let's proceed to the third one. The third school is called positioning, which developed in the 1980s. Although it is not very different from the planning and design schools, it views strategy formation as consisting of a few strategy types. So this school emerged from the work of Porter, 1980s. So if you are, I do believe you are done with the applied economics, you will encounter with the Mr. Porter. Okay? So within the emphasis on the strategy typologies. So the strategy was still conceptualized as a formal and controlled process, but the focus here was on the competitive strategies and industry structure. So as the term suggests, generic strategies were applicable to firms within the or across industries. So Mintzberg and his colleagues described the emergence of the positioning school as part of the, they call it three waves. Okay, three waves. This one. So the military writings, the consulting imperatives of the 1970s, and the recent work on empirical propositions, especially on the 1980s, notably the works of Sun Tzu, as we have discussed in the previous module have influenced the emergence of this school of thoughts. So along with the BCG matrix for portfolio analysis developed in the 1960s, followed by the writings of Porter in 1979, 1980, and 1985. Pertaining to the competitive analysis, we call it the five forces model. The generic strategies, also called the cost leadership, differentiation, and focus, and the value chain. So these are the important things about the third school of thoughts, the positioning. So let's proceed to the fourth one, the entrepreneurial. So the fourth school is the entrepreneurial school or perspectives, which pertains to the decision making and the process of strategy formation. Here, the central rule of strategy formation lies with the leader. Again, the central rule of strategy formation lies with the leader, okay, whose intuition, judgment, wisdom, experience, and insight are at the heart of decision making. So the leader's vision and his or her leadership style influence the organization's strategic posture. So the strategy is conceptualized by the leader based on his or her intuition and wisdom rather than based on calculated plan. Again, the strategy is conceptualized by the leader based on what? On her or his intuition and wisdom rather than based on a calculated plan. So Mintzberg and his colleagues describe this school as both deliberate and emergent, thereby emphasizing the leader's experience while at the same time being adapted to the changing environment of the business. So Joseph Schumpeter was one of the early proponents of the entrepreneurial orientations, and he described the entrepreneur as being at the crux of business innovation and idea formation. So the entrepreneur provides the capital and impetus to start and grow the business into prominence. So the entrepreneur's ability to search for new opportunities while providing his or her personal insights into the best move the business forward through the intuitive thinking is at the heart of the firm's ability to progress. And then the last school of thoughts is called the cognitive. When you say cognitive, it is on the intellectual capacity of the leader or a manager. So the cognitive school is the fifth one, the last school of thoughts that we are going to discuss for this module. So the cognitive emphasizes strategy formation from the perspective that the decision maker's cognition and mind drive strategy making. So the cognitive skills of managers influence their perspective on how they perceive the environment. So this perspective in turns influence the strategy formation process. So again, according to Mintzberg and his colleagues, they include concepts, the maps, the schemas, and the frames. So this school is still emerging in terms of philosophy and contributions to the field. So again, these are the first five school of thoughts. So just a recap. First, we have a design. The important part here is, again, we have 10 school of thoughts. The first one is the design. In this part, we will consider the importance of strategy creation, okay, and the implementation. After you made a strategy, you create a strategy, you will implement the strategy. That is the important thing. The second one is the planning. So in the organization, there must be a mission, vision, goals, and objectives. So this part is on the planning stage, as well as the SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Every business must be studied on this part, the SWOT analysis. The strength and weaknesses is in the internal, and the opportunities and threats is in the external environment of the business. And then the third one is the positioning. The important thing here is the three waves. So the highlighted on this topic is about that we must position our business or our organizations with the competitors surrounds our businesses. Okay, and then the fourth one is the entrepreneurial, the fourth school of thoughts, that the decision making is lies on the leaders. The leaders must have intuition, judgment, wisdom, experience, and insights in order to apply the design or the other school of thoughts. Okay, and then the last one is the cognitive. So in the cognitive part, which is the also the important school of thoughts, wherein the concepts, maps, schemas, and frames must be deliberately applied to the strategy of every organizations. So all the leaders, the managers of the organization or business must have a cognitive skills. So if a manager has a cognitive skills, he has the ability to influence their perspective on how they perceive the environment. So the environment that I have said a while ago is about the internal and external. Internal is for the strengths and weaknesses, and external is for opportunities and threats. So I hope that you have learned from this short video. We only discussed the 5 school of thoughts, and for the next video we have the module 2B. We will continue to discuss the remaining 5 school of thoughts, and don't forget to answer the quiz found in your Google Classroom. Thank you. See you in the next video.